Folks, it looks like rain. Bring an umbrella. That said, what's going to rain down? This.
Imagine what would happen if we had to link thousands of brains together. Just like nature creates a superior intelligence by forming flocks, schools, shoals, and swarms, we could create the brain of brains, the world's first ever human quantum computer. Well, what if we told you we already have?
And Google was the primary interested party that pulled this whole thing together. What they're going to do is apply this machine to an area that I think is fundamentally important. It's a crux of our future as humans. And that's, can we build machines like us?
Linking brains to machines and creating machine brains. Is that something we can handle?
Mind transfer, mind copying, whole brain emulation, etc., for the purposes of training, research, and development.
Stuff of science fiction? Nope.
It's called the information injection feedback loop. It's bidirectional, so they can upload, download at the speed of light. The system can, the supercomputer can. This information injection feedback loop, this neural link between the victim's brain and the supercomputer.
Linking brains to the internet and data clouds that make an unlimited amount of information available to us all the time. Yeah, we can do these kind of things.
Your brain is remotely tied, the cerebral cortex is remotely tied to a supercomputer for light, which monitors and manipulates all electromagnetic activity of the victim's brain.
A machine that has cognitive capability and emotional capability. Literally uses the first person singular I and tells us how it feels. A real, live, breathing, sensitive, and responsive entity. Just like Pinocchio becomes a boy. If I stood before you 3 years ago and I told you this, I'd be like, here's science fiction that should start out with once upon a time. Not science fiction anymore.
Okay, the first thing I can tell you is that M's spend most of their life in virtual reality. While this is what you would look like in virtual reality, this is what an M would look like when virtual reality. It's computer hardware sitting in a server rack somewhere. But still, it could see and experience the same thing.
The M's are an emulated brain on a chip. They live as virtual avatars within the computer simulation, but they use the human mind as a portal to experience and interact with the real world. A brain-computer interface links human nodes to the simulation, allowing for a frequency superhighway between a person's brain and the simulation. This allows the M's to travel from brain to brain. They can experience your conscious reality in real time.
And an M can move its brain, the computer that represents its brain, from one physical location to another. M's can actually move around the world at the speed of light. And by moving to a new location, they can interact more quickly with M's near that new location.
Emulation is really what we talk about in the SWS as the nodes, the avatars. Every single person on the planet, okay, out of Purdue University's own paper in 2006, every person is assigned a avatar. They're represented computationally in the AI system that drives the SWS as a computer node, but they're given an avatar marker. Take the avatar and hang the word emulation on it.
So if I copy you into a machine, that copy process has all of the properties we were talking about as being a soul. First of all, it's immaterial, because copying, that's not a thing, it's a process. It's immortal, it's just like you. You can put it in any environment you want, heaven, hell, make a simulation. So, all of these things that reside in our heads, these abstract concepts, I think that eventually we can build them, and we have to decide what we want to build.
They are building false realities into which they want to induct you so they can play God.
The simulation occurs in the targeted individual's mind. It is like a mixed reality video game where all 5 senses can be manipulated. It is as if two dimensions were stacked on top of each other to create an entire new reality.
There are an enormous number, mind-bogglingly large number, of parallel realities, as real as this one, that have different consistent histories. So imagine a world where all of the laws of physics as we know them are obeyed, but different decisions were made along the way. Different decisions at the level of tiny microscopic particles, different decisions all the way up to what you chose to eat for lunch, and whether you chose to come to this session or not.
When Geordie Rose speaks of parallel realities, he is talking about the human brain. Virtual entities in the simulation use the human mind as a portal to access the material world. Agents within the simulation can jump into your mind and experience your life. As hard as this is to believe, the following article, titled Brain to Cloud Interface, published in Frontiers of Neuroscience, describes this very capability.
Ultra-high resolution, fully immersive, transparent shadowing. Neural nano robotically empowered brain to cloud technologies accompanied by supercomputing technologies might permit users to experience fully immersive, real-time episodes of the lives of any willing human participant on the planet via non-intrusive transparent shadowing. In transparent shadowing, an individual might literally experience another person's life through their own eyes for a predetermined duration via an extra life session. We will be able to change our appearance and effectively become other people.
The ultimate issue, can we handle it? Can we handle the truth?
The goal of creating artificial intelligence was for them to become gods, to create a collective mind, a global computer that sees all, sees everything, to create an all-seeing eye.
Before you go, oh, that's the stuff of science fiction. No, it's not.
The full sensorial realm, e.g., physical presence, tactile sensations, olfactory, visual, tastes, and auditory, would be experienced by the attendees, as if they inhabited the body of the spatial host. It is likely that any self-speak of a spatial host will include their most private and intimate thoughts. Hence, this warrants a careful exploration of how these self-speak items might be screened such that the attendees are not privy to them. How will this be decided, and by whom? What self-speak will be allowable and what will be considered as out of bounds? It would most likely be considered as highly unethical. This particular brain-to-computer interface application would be akin to an exponentially enhanced version of attending and viewing a movie, albeit one that is totally controlled by the spatial host. The host will have no mental or physical perception that they are being shadowed by the attendees. Hence, in essence, anyone on the planet who is linked via brain-to-computer interface might be engaged as either a spatial host or an attendee.
If our brains are connected to the internet, and if our brains are all connected, all of us connected, I could literally go into your head and see through your eyes. So all of a sudden, like for a day, like, you know, a lot of us, because you're entrepreneurs, think it would be cool to go inside Elon Musk's head for a day and walk around. Well, Elon Musk may allow people to get that feed and literally live through what he sees.
This technology can also tap into the optical nerve of the target and the auditory system of the target, so that those monitoring the target can see what the target is seeing and hear what the target is hearing. This information is then downloaded and stored on a computer in a highly secure, classified site on servers that are guarded by some of the tightest security in the world. This results in the individual's entire day, everything they see, everything they hear, everything they experience, and everything they feel being recorded till the end of time.
If you're looking at connecting our brains to the internet, one of the things we'll be able to do is we'll be to outsource functions of our brain. So we'll be able to outsource, we'll be able to upload our memories to the cloud. So let's say you don't want to, you want that memory forever, right? You're like, it's automatically probably being stored in the cloud for you without you thinking about it. Just like these automatic backups on your computer, you know? everything, there's a copy and there's redundancy and there's like many versions.
I was previously at the Institute for Neurocomputation at UCSD, as well as with a number of members of my team, and we were focusing really on brain-computer interfaces and on advanced methods for neural state decoding to interpret the signals that come out of our brains and relate them to behavior and cognition. So we provide a RESTful API framework. Actually, we're, I think, the world's first platform for neurocomputation operating on the cloud through a web API interface in real time. So you can push your biosignals to the cloud through a few API calls. Then we have a large amount of sophisticated signal processing that's spun up to make sense of that data. And then with a few more lines of code through, again, a simple REST API, you can get back a meaningful result. And all that happening in real time.
It's a scary proposition to think that every biosignal from us will be one day measured, but if it is, I'd like to know that I'm in control of that data and not the NSA. Oh,
absolutely. And Catherine Herridge continues her reporting on a place where all that data is heading.
Bluffdale, Utah, 25 miles south of Salt Lake City, the NSA is nearing completion on a gargantuan new project. It's named the Utah Data Center. The NSA will neither confirm nor deny the specifics, but some estimate the center will be capable of storing 5 zettabytes of data, or enough to store every email, cell phone call, Google search and surveillance camera video in America for a very long time. All the NSA would tell us is that the Utah Data Center is a facility for the intelligence community that will have a major focus on cybersecurity. We weren't given access last summer, but we could see it from the sky.
I want you to look real close because right now we're 500 feet over the Utah Data Center, and this is as close as you're going to get without a security clearance.
You can actually see the cranes right now after 12 o'clock.
Wow. From the sky, it's huge.
Yeah, it's gigantic.
It's really a turnkey situation where it can be turned quickly and become a totalitarian state pretty quickly. The capacity to do that is being set up.
That's a chilling assessment from Bill Binney, who worked at the NSA for nearly 4 decades, starting as a data analyst in the days before desktop computers.
They are building false realities into which they want to induct you so they can play God.
Here's how I do it. I copy you exactly into a digital environment. Everything about you. Imagine that was possible. It probably is.
It's kind of like the Matrix, except the agents are with the NSA and British intelligence, and their targets are terror suspects. Now, if your knowledge of the video game universe begins and ends with Frogger, don't worry, we will break it down for you.
Today, ProPublica reported that the NSA and British spies have infiltrated online gaming platforms like World of Warcraft and Second Life, looking for terrorists. That's what's outlined in an internal NSA document leaked by Edward Snowden that focuses on games and virtual worlds.
But Spencer, how would a militant or terrorist group use such a game to launch an attack?
Well, that's kind of unclear.
None of the newly leaked documents mention specific terrorist activity foiled via the project.
But the suspicion around the sort of late 2000s that emerged in intelligence circles, in defense circles, was that as more of our lives migrate into massively multiple online role-playing games like Warcraft and others, more people would seek to use them as sort of online sanctuaries where you wouldn't think intelligence agencies like the NSA would be watching, so they could potentially discuss planning attacks like that.
Peter Singer with the Brookings Institute found the NSA's concerns laughable, telling ProPublica, games are built and operated by companies looking to make money, so the player's identity and activity is tracked. For terror groups looking to keep their communication secret, there are far more effective and easier ways to do so than putting on a troll avatar.
During the MK-Ultra Church Committee hearings of the 1970s, the CIA admitted to creating cover files for their most top-secret projects. This is done as a precautionary measure just in case any documents are ever leaked. For accounting purposes, the cover story is often similar to what the real project is for. This allows them to fund the project without raising suspicion amongst members of Congress.
CNN has not received an on-the-record response to these articles from the NSA, but they do say that their programs are all centered on valid foreign intelligence targets. Have any terrorists, to your knowledge, actually been caught by doing this?
Not to my knowledge.
Do we have any idea how many agents might be playing these games at any one time?
Apparently, so many agencies were engaged in playing video games for national security that a deconfliction group was created to make sure the government agents were not accidentally spying on each other.
And the NSA's own documents provide 0 counter-terror successes coming from the agency's online gaming surveillance. Whoops. But what if the NSA or the FBI could dig a little deeper? What if they could not only track your World of Warcraft tactics, but also track exactly what you're doing while you're playing World of Warcraft?
The shadow government has created a computer-generated simulation of the entire planet on a supercomputer. A direct link between the simulation and the material world exists, so that anything that occurs in one, also occurs in the other. This allows the shadow government to monitor and control the real world from within the simulation. Targeted individuals are represented as nodes or avatars. The avatar contains all biometric data about the individual. Using the individual's DNA, they are able to build a digital twin on a supercomputer. They then link the targeted individual's consciousness to their digital twin through a direct brain-to-computer interface.
What these people have done is turned this technology into a video game. And that is exactly how they approach it. They approach it as though they are playing a cross between Sid Meier's Civilization on their computer and Sims, where they are controlling all of civilization and also controlling people on the individual level. It is infuriating. It is highly, highly illegal, and it must be stopped now.
So, like any technology, there are great things we could do, and then there are very horrible things that could result from it that are unanticipated. Now, if somebody hacks into your cell phone or your bank account, they can steal your identity. But it's not your real identity. It's more like your money. And that's bad enough, right? That's pretty bad if you get hacked and they steal your, they do identity theft. But if they're connected, if your brain is connected directly to the internet, then it will be real identity theft. They could take you. They could literally erase you. They could reprogram you in a way without you even knowing it. So you think you're in control of your own will, but it's actually somebody else.
It can literally stop your own thoughts from happening and replace them with other thoughts by sending thoughts to your head. And it's so sophisticated that you cannot tell where these thoughts are coming from. There's no way to discern that they are coming from somewhere other than your own mind. So you can imagine how bad this would be for people that don't even realize this technology exists. And they're having these thoughts, which they think are spontaneous, because being under the influence of this technology now, kind of having been on both sides of it, I am just amazed at the way it works. And I know that the thoughts that they beam into your head originate from the exact same place in your mind that your own natural thoughts originate from. So if I didn't know I was under the influence of this technology, then I would have no idea that anyone was influencing my thoughts at all. And that's exactly what it can be used for. It can be used to sway people in terms of their opinion, to make them go along with a certain agenda. It can be used to turn groups of people or individuals against each other for whatever purpose.
And who do we trust with this technology? Well, apparently not Mark Zuckerberg. He didn't do that good a job at protecting our data. Do we trust a government? Do we trust Donald Trump? Who do we trust? Yeah, decentralized, a blockchain, right? You're going to have technology that protects us. Technology which really doesn't exist today, and it has to be so foolproof, and we have to have so much faith in it that we're willing to open up our brains to that potential of being hacked. So, my final slide here is that, our future could go two ways, right? We could literally create heaven on earth. So we are all one giant being, and we are all working in unison, and we are experiencing these amazing things. Or it could be hell, where there's some evil AI or evil people controlling everything we do, and we're more like zombies, you know, where we don't even know it. Like we think we're free and we're not actually free.
One of the things I'm concerned about is the technology as it's being researched and developed in Seattle utilizes emotion manipulation and behavior manipulation without the game stalking and without the voice-to-skull aspects. And so this use of the technology can be done very covertly to the point where the person it's being used against will not know that this technology is being used against them. And that is one of my main concerns and one of the reasons why I want to bring more light to this technology and to this issue, because this technology could potentially be being used against tens to hundreds of millions of Americans every day. I mentioned in some of my podcasts how there are field effects where they will not direct this technology at an individual, but create a general field of frequency in a geographical area so that everybody that within that geographical area is feeling the effects of the technology. It's more of a general application of the technology instead of an individual specific application of the technology. But when you consider that use of it and the fact that it is used for emotion and thought and behavior modification, then we could potentially be looking at many, many millions of people across the country that are under the influence of the technology today, right now.
It's going to be very hard to stop. It is going to be very hard to stop. Think about it. You know, it's sort of a one-way path. I've never seen humanity roll back technology. What we can do is control it. So like with nuclear weapons, we've barely kept those in control, you know. With other weapons, not so much, like chemical weapons. But we need to start talking about this now.
There is a very real risk that you are going to become a full-blown 24/7 targeted individual. And this technology at that point, when it is nationwide, will be used by automated supercomputer software programming that will manipulate the emotions and the behavior and the thoughts of everybody in the United States of America. And it can all be done remotely. It's very much like the microchip kind of tracking the New World Order, this entire, control grid that's supposed to be rolled out against the American people someday. And I'm here to tell you that it's already here. There isn't going to come a day where there's troops in the streets and tanks rolling down your neighborhood and riot gear and all this stuff. We might have isolated incidents like that. It might get like that every once in a while, but the true control grid is this technology, voice-to-skull, hive mind, behavior manipulation technology. And it can all be done remotely. It can be done simply by targeting you with the frequency, locking into the resonant frequency of your DNA and your mind, and in that manner completely track and trace and control you 24 hours a day.